When just sinners saved by grace.
Hey everybody, it is down to the wire. We literally have one more episode to go, and that is episode 8, the series finale for Saints and Sinners. Listen, I'm going to do my best to keep this discussion under 10 minutes because it takes a lot to go beyond that. But with that being said, I want to first and foremost just thank you all for your participation in these discussions. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate your feedback. I don't care how short or long your comments have been. I've read them and I appreciate them. You all have kept it very positive in the comment section. You've kept the conversation going, your predictions going. It has been truly wonderful. I hope that in the future there's another show that we can all come together for just as much as we did this one. But if not, just know that I truly appreciate every single one of you. And even if you did not leave a comment and you contributed to the views, understand this, it is greatly appreciated. With that being said, please keep a lookout for my community tab postings because recently I was approached with an opportunity to interview one of the Saints and Sinners cast members prior to the series finale episode. If that comes into fruition, I'll make sure to leave that information on the community post. So please keep a lookout. Also, I'm also going to post in the community tab a question for you all. And that question is, if you had an opportunity to interview the Saints and Sinners cast members, what would you like to ask them? So if I get a chance to do this, I want to use the questions you all have for the Saints and Sinners cast members. And I don't know which one it will be, but I want to use the questions that you all may have in order to ask them for myself when I get the opportunity, because it is not about me. It is actually about you all. And I truly appreciate you all, because if it wasn't for you all viewing these videos, I would not have this opportunity. So again, keep a lookout on my community tab for that information and for that question. And then please feel free to add the questions that you would ask any of the Saints and Sinners cast members if you had the opportunity. Without further ado, let's get into this brief discussion of season 6, episode 7 of Bounce TV Saints and Sinners. So the beginning of the episode opens up to Ella, and of course she's at the extravaganza. She's supposed to be getting apprehended by District Attorney Hayden, but she ends up grabbing Angela, pregnant Angela, and holding her hostage. So in the meantime, Christy tries to talk her down. Rex tries to talk her down. Detective Hayden hops on the phone, and I couldn't tell you who he's calling. I didn't know if he was ordering a pizza or if he was calling for an Uber, but he hops on the phone and Ella's like, if you don't put that phone down. Meanwhile, unfortunately, nothing worked because Ella ended up taking Angela and running out of the extravaganza and holding Angela hostage and hopping into a car with her. Now, while all of this was transpiring, we have Ray Ray, who was literally peeping around the corner. Now, he was trying not to get shot by Ella, but he also wanted to have a bird's eye view of what he put into motion. And it is true what they say, and in time of crisis, you'll learn who really cares about you. Okay, that's probably not really a saying, but anyway, in this episode, we can clearly see that because we have Levi protecting Christy, trying to make sure she doesn't get shot by her own mother. But then we also have Jabari holding on tightly to Paige, and I was laughing because I'm like, okay, Jabari, cool, you protecting your wife, but at the same time, that is your baby, and you could care less about Angela. Listen, I said this in the last discussion. Angela doesn't realize she doesn't have any friends. No one cares, okay? Jabari doesn't care. It's his child. Levi didn't care. He grabbed on to Christy, and Ray Ray, we already know Ray Ray is about himself. And speaking of Ray Ray, Ray Ray literally is the definition of smooth criminals when it comes to Cypress and Saints and Sinners, because he does a lot of instigating to get what he wants. For example, in this episode, we see that Ray Ray manages to convince Jabari that he is on Jabari's side and that he wants to take down Ella and Rex so that he can run Cypress. However, he tells Jabari, hey, I'll go back to Athens, but I'm going to need a right-hand man to run Cypress. That's you. And for some odd reason, Jabari falls for it. So as the extravaganza dispersed after all of this craziness, Christy gets into some sort of vehicle. I assume it's a Uber Lux, and maybe that is who District Attorney Hayden took the time out to call while Ella was holding Angela hostage. I don't know. But sure enough, Christy did not pay attention to who the driver was, and sure enough, when she looked up, it was Dr. Kevorkian. I mean, Dr. Freakenstein. Darn it, I mean Dr. Ross. And Dr. Ross ends up taking Christy hostage. He takes her back to this place. He puts her on some sort of hospital bed, and he calls Leona and lets her know that he found her a donor. And Leona is like, who is it? And Dr. Ross is like, well, it's a hit and run victim. And Leona's like, oh, pity, Leona be on some other stuff. And Dr. Ross is like, we got you a kidney, we're going to save your life. Leona's like, listen, we'll wire you some money, I don't need to know nothing else, just give me that kidney. Somehow, by a twist of fate, Levi walks outside in time to hear a police officer interviewing the real driver of the Uber Lux that Christy got into, and he learns that Christy is in danger because apparently that vehicle was stolen and Christy was in that vehicle. And despite being pimp slapped by Christy just minutes ago, Levi goes on a mission to save her life. After roughing up the wrong man, Levi finds himself at Leona's house to let her know what is happening, and immediately Leona puts two and two together and realizes that it is Dr. Freakenstein that has Christy. Christy was at first relieved to see that it was Leona, but then she realized very quickly that Leona was acting weird with Dr. Freakenstein and acting as if she did not care that it was going to be Christy's kidney that was going to replace hers. Leona very well could be playing Dr. Kevorkian and acting as if she doesn't care, just to figure out a way to get rid of him so that she can save Christy, or this could be truly a turn of events in Saints and Sinners finale. And speaking of a turn of events, we have Kendrick and Anna. Kendrick finally manages to get into his own house, but he is met immediately with Anna, who has a gun in her hand, and she points the gun at Kendrick, and she tells Kendrick, get out, this should all be mine. And Kendrick is telling her like, hey, I would have given this to you, which we all know Kendrick would have very well given it to her. Actually, he was giving it to her in more ways than one. But nonetheless, Anna is working for Ray Ray, and that is why she's doing what she's doing. But I also think she has to gain from it as well the life that Stacia once had. Of course, that would be the life without Kendrick, apparently, because Ray Ray orders Anna to kill Kendrick. Now, at first, it looks as though Anna was hesitant, but I don't know. Anna seems really wicked. There's a part of her that seems wicked, but the more she went throughout the house of Stacia and Kendrick's and went into the nursery and started looking at the baby stuff, the more I'm starting to think that maybe she's not going to go through with it. I don't know how all of this is going to work. This is going to be very interesting. And we didn't even see Kendrick for the rest of the episode, so that leads me to wonder, what exactly is Kendrick going to do? Now, while all this other stuff is happening, we still have Ella driving around with Angela as her hostage, and Angela does manage to take the gun that Ella has and shoots at Ella, but misses and manages to get Ella to stop the car long enough for her to get out. And we see in the episode she is trying to hitchhike her way home. And speaking of going home, we have Tam that ends up at the cabin or safe house or whatever you call it, where Josie is holding Miles up at, and Tamara is there to basically take Miles home, but unfortunately Josie is putting up a fight as she ends up hitting Tamara with a wooden bat. The two get into some sort of scuffle. Tamara is yelling at Miles like, hey, hurry up and get out. And I'm laughing because I'm like, really? Don't you need help? Shouldn't Miles be helping you? And Miles is crawling slowly to the door, but Josie does manage to get the upper hand and knocks Tam out long enough to take Miles and put him in the car and drive away. I'm not certain how Tam is still alive after being hit with a bat. I guess Josie didn't hit her hard enough, but Tamara does manage to wake up and call Miles. Miles grabs the phone somehow, some way, and he lets Tamara know where Josie is headed to. Unfortunately, Josie gets really irate, and whatever she does, she ends up getting distracted. She sees Angela behind, who's still trying to hitchhike out there in the night streets, and she ends up almost hitting Angela. Angela dives out the way. Josie hits a pole. It appears as though Josie has perished, and it looks like also Angela is losing her baby. I guess we'll know for certain in the series finale, but I will say this, it was very interesting to see that despite all that Josie had put Miles through, Miles still indeed cared about Josie. Last but not least, of course, we have Ella, and Ella is losing her mind in this episode, or at least she was. She ends up running into the church that belonged to her family, or once belonged to her family, and she's pleading with God. She's a wreck, and suddenly she sees Detective St. Charles. I bet y'all didn't think I would remember his name. She sees Detective St. Charles, and she's having this historical conversation with him about things that have occurred in the past. She brings up her son EJ, who many of us remember from season 1, and I believe it was episode 1, where her son did unfortunately was killed, and she brings up to St. Charles that, hey, you said you were going to get my son justice, and it took you a long time, like you never got my son justice. And she's just mad at everybody. She's mad at God. She's just upset. And Detective St. Charles, in some way, once he gets his apology from her, he's able to help her get salvation from God, or at least that is what I believe this scene alludes to. And it kind of frees her of the emotional burden and the insanity that apparently she has been carrying around for a long time. However, that may be in the spiritual realm of things, but as far as the physical world of things, Ella still has to pay for what she has done. But she does manage to get a phone call from Rex and take that phone call, and Rex takes her back to his safe house where Josie and Miles were supposed to be. And I guess his intentions were to keep Ella safe and hidden out in the meantime from law enforcement. Listen, if you don't understand Rex and Ella's relationship, then you probably have not been watching Saints and Sinners since the beginning, because despite the things that Rex and Ella have been through, they share a bond with one another because of the child that they share together, which is Kendrick. But also, they just love each other. They have this weird dynamic amongst each other where they're sometimes in competition with one another. They fall out with one another. Overall, Rex has always looked out for Ella, and we can clearly see in this episode that Ella is returning the favor, because there was a part where there is a man that comes with them, and he's supposed to be Rex's right hand man. But actually, if you remember a couple of episodes back, we see this individual knows Jabari. He's some sort of childhood friend or something of Jabari's. So this man is acting suspicious, and he comes into the cabin, and Rex is like, "What, are we being followed?" And the man is like, "Nah, we're not being followed." Suddenly, Rex looks out the window to discover that it is Ray Ray and Jabari and a whole bunch of Ray Ray's people outside waiting for him. And a gun is put to Rex's head, and it is that man that knows Jabari. But what this man doesn't realize is that Ella and Rex are a team, and Ella is standing right behind him with the gun, and she shoots the man. Long story short, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. And then Rex lets Ella know, like, "Hey, you ready for what is about to come?" He opens up that closet that we saw Miles open up a couple of episodes, or maybe last episode back. And that closet has a ton of guns in it, because Rex and Ella is getting ready to go to war against Jabari and Ray Ray and their people. So this is bananas, y'all. I can honestly say I am all out of predictions for the series finale, because I haven't the slightest idea where this is getting ready to go. But I do have a great feeling that it is going to be juicy. It is going to be worth the wait. It is going to be worth the watch. So as usual, let me know what you all think in the comment section below. Remember to please keep a lookout on my community tab, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.